When it comes to the Indiana Pacers, they're in a bit of a weird spot. Like, they're not good enough to contend, but they're not bad enough to fall into the lottery and get a great pick. And if you don't know, once a week, every week, I take a team starting from the worst in the NBA to the best, and I talk about how I think they can make a push towards the NBA Finals, whether that's in this upcoming season or 5 years or 10 years. And today, we have the Indiana Pacers. And like I said, they're a middle of the road team, and that's either like a good thing because you're progressing into becoming a better team, or it's a bad thing because you're kind of stuck. You're stuck bouncing around the middle, not contending and not getting good picks. But with the Pacers, it's a little bit different than either of those. They have a lot of talent throughout the roster, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But first, I'm talking about their coaching and a little bit of confusion. Like last year, I don't know why they fired Nate McMillan. I mean, he had them beating expectations. In 2020, they were a 4th seed team. And then in 2018 and 2019, they were a 5th seed team both those seasons. They fire him, I'm not going to say for no reason, but because he lost to the Miami Heat in 4 games in that 2020 NBA playoffs. But the Heat team went on to the finals, so you can't really blame them. And they were a little bit hurt. I think they didn't have Victor Oladipo that series, so you can't blame them that much. So they fire him. He goes to the Hawks and makes the Eastern Conference Finals, proving that he's a great coach. And I love him as a coach. I feel like he was a good fit for the Pacers. And then they hired Nate Bjorkgren, and then he brought them to a 9th seed, just showing the value of Nate McMillan. But obviously they were a little bit hurt. But nonetheless, I liked Nate on that team. And then Nate McMorgan, whatever the hell you say his name, got fired. And good news, I'm done with the Nate McMillan rant because the Pacers hire Mavs ex-head coach Rick Carlisle. And I think that is a great pickup for him because I like his system. I feel like his system raises the ceilings on solid teams. Like, for example, 2011 Mavs were a solid team that Rick Carlisle was coaching. And his system raised the ceiling to make them a great team and win a championship. That is why I think Rick Carlisle is a great coach for the Pacers, because he can raise their potential ceiling. So now I'm done with the coaching. I think it's a good change in coaching. They got Rick Carlisle, an established coach who will fit their team, and now I want to look at their roster. So they have a talented roster, don't get me wrong. Headlining is Domantas Sabonis, nearly averaging a triple-double, coming off back-to-back All-Star appearances, and someone who has a high ceiling, in my opinion, averaging I think 20, 11, and 7 last season, and even improved his 3-point percentage by 7% from 2 seasons ago. Then you have Malcolm Brogdon, who's averaging 21, 6, and 5. These guys go completely under the radar. Literally 2 of the most underrated players in the entire league, both on the Pacers. And Malcolm is such a well-rounded point guard. I really enjoy his game. I don't know how he doesn't get any recognition in this league. But after him, you have Caris LeVert, new to the team, coming off a serious surgery, only playing 35 games for them, but averaging 25 and 5. And we all know Caris's bag goes deep. And we all love Caris LeVert and know he has a great offensive game. And I think he fits them very, very well. Then you got guys like Miles Turner, a great rim protecting center, in talks for Defensive Player of the Year. Had potential as an offensive player, but that kind of stopped a little bit. I think he still has the potential as a player, great defensive player. And I like him for the Pacers as well. But then you have guys like TJ Warren, another 20-point per game player, injured, and they say his injury isn't healing as fast as they'd like, but nonetheless, like I said, 20-point per game player. Then you got the role players, the TJ McConnell, Jeremy Lambs, Doug McDermott's. They have the perfectly balanced roster. They are literally a Kawhi Leonard away from being a championship contender. I'm not even kidding. This team reminds me of that 2019 Raptors team without Kawhi. Without Kawhi, they weren't really going to win a championship. Let's be honest. And then this Pacers team, they have the Sabonis, who kind of matches up with the Pascal. They have the Malcolm Brogdon who matches up with Kyle Lowry. They have good role players, the Fred VanVleets, that kind of stuff. It's a very similar team. And they are that one player away from being a great team. Yes, I said it. They have Rick Carlisle, a great system now. And if they had that amazing player, that leader, they can make a push to the finals. And obviously the biggest problem with that is acquiring said leader. It's not that easy to come across a Kawhi Leonard. And for the Pacers, they are not in a position where they can tank and then draft one and develop him, because then all their guys are going to get older and they won't have this core they have now. So what they need to do is either trade some young pieces and future assets for a higher tier player to try to get, trying to get someone who's trying to leave a team. For example, how Harden was trying to leave the Rockets. The Rockets had to give up Harden for less in return because they knew Harden wanted to leave. The Pacers have to catch someone like that, if you know what I'm saying. Literally, it's weird to say a Paul George type player would be that guy for them. Paul George shows that he can lead a team. But the Clippers aren't looking to give up Paul George. So either they do that, they trade for it, or they could catch someone in free agency. And obviously, it's hard for the Indiana Pacers to catch a high tier free agent. They're not the Los Angeles Lakers. They're not this big market team like some of these other guys. So it's a lot harder for smaller market teams. And with it being harder, they have to go for pushes like the 2004 Pistons run, like a 2011 Mavs run, like a 2020 Miami Heat run, because it's hard to build a dynasty in a small market team. And that is why they need to go for a push one of these seasons, because unfortunately that's how the league is. These big markets have it easier, and that's just the way it is. We have to accept it. These small market teams either have to go and draft their franchise player like the Bucks or the Mavs, or you got to do what kind of the Pacers have done. They kind of traded guys, drafted some, traded them, acquired Sabonis and Oladipo for Paul George, which seemed like it was bad at the time, but ended up not being too bad. And they've done well with what they had, and they're doing well with what they had. So, like, I think the Pacers are definitely looking up as a franchise, but just needing that one player. I don't think Sabonis can be the best player on a team. I think he has potential to become a very good player. His ceiling is quite high, especially how he's improving his game. But the Pacers really need that piece. And that is how I think the Pacers can attempt to win an NBA championship. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, what you think the Pacers should do. Next week, we have the 8th seed in the West, so make sure you're subscribed, turn on those notifications, and click the links in the description. I appreciate all the recent support, but I will catch you guys in the next one. I am out. Peace.